Hi everyone, Dave Mellis with EDS Marine. Today I'm going to give you a little presentation on how to winterize your Schenker Watermaker. We get asked lots of questions about when should we winterize our Watermaker, how should we do it, um, what's the process in doing this? Are there specific things that we should look out for when we are using a Watermaker? And then what else do we do? Like how do we recommission it again in the spring? So we're going to address all those questions one by one. So the first question is why should we winterize a Watermaker? What we're trying to do is we want to protect the membrane of the Watermaker. The membrane is the separation membrane that separates the solids, the high salt content and that stuff from the fresh water. So if the membrane is the heart of the unit, we don't want to leave salt water in close contact with that membrane, because what happens is you'll get a bacterial buildup on that membrane, and that will ultimately plug and destroy the membrane of your Watermaker. So that's why we do this. So when we do a winterizing, we're protecting the unit, we're protecting the membrane, and we usually say a time frame of, if you're going to leave it more than 1 month or at a time, you should be pickling the unit, right? Ideally, you're going to flush the unit after every use. And if you're going to be away from the boat for 2 weeks, you want to at least flush it once every 2 weeks. If you're going to leave it more than a month, though, I'm going to recommend to you that you do a pickling or winterize the unit. It's simple to do, and we're going to show you how to have that done. Okay, for the main reasons why we do that is because during the fall, temperature changes, they drop below freezing. You definitely want to winterize your Schenker Watermaker so that it's not going to be susceptible to freezing and breaking the components on it. So drop in temperature is a big reason for it. Extended periods of time where you're not going to be on the boat, anything more than a month, you should seriously consider pickling your unit so that you don't have that buildup of bacteria, which is going to affect the performance of your membrane and also the water quality involved too. And the other aspect of it is that we talk about, if you are not flushing regularly and doing a proper job of maintaining and protecting your membrane, you're going to get a rotten egg smell in your water. And when you get to that point, really what you need to do is to do a process which is very similar to winterizing your membrane, which is flooding the unit with an SC1 solution, which is a mild acid solution, and that will kill the bacteria that's built up in your Watermaker, and in particular on your membrane surface. Okay, so when should I winterize my Watermaker? Well, that is pretty evident. You need to do that when you've discontinued the use of the boat. So usually at the end of the boating season is when you want to do that. So in the fall, in the Pacific Northwest, we want to usually do that in October, November, sometime before the ambient temperature drops below freezing. Okay, so you need to set up a date and schedule when to have this done, because this is a process that you have to do, and you have to be organized. You have to have the proper chemicals and equipment and that stuff in place and in play so that you can do a proper job on it. Okay, it doesn't take very long. You're looking at maybe 15 minutes to half an hour. So you need to be organized, order the parts that you need, the chemicals and the equipment that you need in advance so that you can minimize the amount of time and effort in winterizing your Watermaker. Okay, so get organized. All right, so what I want to do at this point is explain frost protection and the difference between frost protection and preserving or pickling your membrane, or if we want to do both. So when we talk about frost protection, we're talking about a drop in temperature where potentially damage could be occurred because the water or solution that is in the unit is going to freeze and expand and break the components of your water maker. So we usually recommend two types of chemicals and two only that are permitted with any of the Schenker water makers. You can use the SC1, which is a weak acid solution that goes in, and we introduce it into the water maker. That weak acid solution prevents any further bacterial activity, and in fact, it'll kill off any activity that bacteria activity that's already in the unit, and that is called part of the pickling process. If the temperature drops below freezing, we also have to protect it against frost protection, so we would use and recommend a chemical called propylene glycol. And propylene glycol is basically like an antifreeze, but it's compatible with your Schenker water maker, so it will not only pickle the unit for you, it'll also prevent it from freezing and breaking. So you need to use one of those two chemicals. SC1 is basically a preservative or pickling solution. Propylene glycol is used for pickling as well as frost protection. You need to be contacting your manufacturer if you're not using a Schenker water maker, and ask them what chemicals are compatible with that manufacturer, because they are different. Schenker is unique in that way, in that there are only two chemicals that are permitted. A lot of other water makers, reverse osmosis, desal unit manufacturers that we deal with, they use other chemicals, but again, you need to make certain that you've checked with the manufacturer that they are going to be compatible. Okay, all water makers are not the same. When we talk about water makers, the chemicals for Schenkers, the SC1, I mentioned it was a weak type of acid solution. Believe it's, if you want to get technical, it's a sulfamic acid that is used for cleaning membranes, and we use it in other applications too. It's an excellent preservative and that stuff, but it does not protect you on frost protection. Okay, the other chemical that we're going to recommend is if you want to use it for frost protection as well as a preservative, is you're going to use a propylene glycol solution in a concentration of 35 to 45%. You want to make certain that it is food grade, okay, because if it's not food grade, then it's going to have corrosion inhibitors in it, which are not compatible with the Schenker composite materials that are in the Schenker water makers. So a food grade, that's usually going to be like a 99 point, at least 99.5% NSF approved propylene glycol solution, and its concentration must be between 35 and 45% so that it does not damage the composite material in the Schenker water maker. And that'll give you great frost protection, as well as acting as a preservative. Okay. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations on how it's to be done. Read your operator manual twice. I always say to my customers, read it twice, because there's chock full of information. You're bound to miss something on the installation and maintenance and troubleshooting in there. And it's a great manual. It's got lots of detailed information, in particular on the preservative and winterizing your water maker. And we're going to do a little demonstration here. We've got a unit that is in our downstairs in our showroom, Zen 30, that will show you how it's all going to be done. So you'll recognize this diagram. This is from the Schenker Zen series manual, and I've provided a little bit of information in here. You're going to need a 5-gallon clean pail of water that is unchlorinated. You can't use chlorinated water because chlorine is not compatible with desalination membranes. So it's unchlorinated water that you want to use. You'll want to close the through hull. That's part number 10 there. And then remove your filters that are in play, the 5-micron filter. And then what I usually do is put a little T with a suction line and a ball valve on it that I use to suck up the solution from my 5-gallon pail. And then I circulate it through the discharge pipes, or redirect it back in to the pail, and that gives me a circulation movement of my chemical. And we're going to turn the water maker on. We're going to let it circulate for about 10 minutes time. That'll give us a good mix of the chemical that we're looking to introduce. And then after all that's done, we're going to be reconnecting the hoses. So what I want to do now is give you a little video on this whole process, and hope you enjoy it. And let's take a look at the video.
Hi everyone, Dave Mellis with EDS Marine. Today I want to demo how to properly pickle or winterize your Schenker Watermaker. So this is our display model that we have set up in our shop for demoing to our customers. And what I've done is I've slightly altered this. I've cut in on the suction line here a little, and put in a little T and an isolating valve. And this isolating valve has a line attached to a container, 5-gallon container that we have our SC1 solution in, or you can use a propylene glycol solution that we also sell if you decide you want to winterize it for frost protection. So either of those two chemicals are used. I have to stress to you though that you can only use SC1 or a proper concentration of propylene glycol. Any other chemical used will maybe damage the unit, because this is made of some specialized composite materials that are unique to Schenker. Anything else, like a different thiosulfate solution, anything like that, could damage it. So please use the proper stuff, the SC1 or the proper concentration of propylene glycol. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut my through hull. I'm going to open this line, and this is now turned into a suction line, and I've taken my discharge, my through hull discharge, and returned it back into this pail right here. And I'm going to start the system up. It's going to draw, the pump will draw from the pail, and the solution gets circulated through the unit, through the membrane, and discharged back into our container. And then we're going to circulate that for about 10 minutes time. That'll make certain that we've got the solution all through the entire system. Once we're finished with that, we'll just simply shut the system off. We reconnect our discharge through our through hull discharge. And this line here can be shut off. We can either leave the hose attached or curl it up for further use next year. And then at that point, what I'll usually like to do is change the filters out, and you're done. You're completed all your winterizing for 1 year, and it's a simple matter of restarting everything again, flushing the solution out again overboard for about 10 minutes so that it's completely clean and ready to be connected to your water tank. Yeah, it's as simple as that. If there's any questions that you may have, give us a call at EDS Marine.